Happy Friday, Brian Manning here with the weekly update. Let's get right to it. So Monday this week, markets were reacting from a trade deal that was done with China over the weekend. It's not done. They're still working on the tariffs, but maybe they made a little progress. It's so hard to know. When you watch the news, you see what's happening out there. You can't really get a straight story from the U.S. version or the Chinese version. So there seems like there was some momentum there, but not really sure how far they got. Then Tuesday this week, we got CPI. So CPI is Consumer Price Index. This number came out very tame. This is a gauge of inflation. We get two inflation reports every single month. What's interesting, if we look at this, is a large portion of this is shelter. So 43% of this report is made up from shelter. And of the 43% that's made up from shelter, 33% of that is what's called owner's equivalent of rent. So owner's equivalent of rent is when someone across the country gets a phone call and they say, how much would you rent your house for today without utilities? Now, I have to be honest with you. If someone called me today and they said, Brian, how much would you rent your house for? I have no idea. I would throw a number out there, but I have really no clue how much my house would rent for. So it's just baffling to me that the way they figure out these inflation numbers is just so old and antiquated, because if you're calling people across the country and this makes up such a large percentage of the inflation report, and you're just asking people how much would they rent their house for, and most people don't know, how can you really rely on that? And the Federal Reserve is looking at this, making decisions on what they want to do with rate hikes based on such a crazy inflation report with such a large component tied to owner's equivalent of rent. So if we look at that inflation report, it was good to see we had inflation move from 2.4% down to 2.3. If we didn't have such crazy shelter costs in there, which we've talked about for a very long time, that would have been an even better report. So still good to see meaningful move on inflation. Then Thursday this week, we got PPI. So PPI stands for the Producer Price Index. So the first thing that happened was CNBC made a crazy error and they totally flubbed this. So a lot of people don't watch CNBC with the audio on. They watch CNBC and they read whatever the text is. So their error when they came out was that PPI had increased by 0.5%. Now, market expectations was that CPI was going to be down 0.2%. CNBC comes out with this error. They say PPI up 0.5%. Well, you have a crazy sell-off in the bond market because bond traders don't like this, because inflation is the enemy of bonds, also the enemy of mortgage interest rates. Then they say, oh my gosh, we got this wrong. We didn't mean to say that it was up 0.5%. Actually, the report said it was down 0.5%. So then they corrected it because that was the actual number. Expectations was that PPI would be down 0.2. It ended up being down 0.5, which is really good because this measures inflation at a wholesale level. But you really got a whipsaw on the market on Thursday mornings because you had this error that a lot of investors watch, giant crazy sell-off in the bond market, correction on CNBC. Everyone realized that PPI was better than expected, and then they came back buying. So it was kind of a crazy day in the markets. If you looked at what happened on Thursday, all because of CNBC's error. I'm around all weekend. If you have any questions, let me know. If you want to get pre-approved, we are available 7 days a week, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. We'd love to help you. Realtors, keep an eye out. We're doing winning in a buyer's market. We did our first one yesterday in Boulder, sold out. Next week, we have one in Denver, already sold out. We'll have more past that. Colorado Springs, we'll do Boulder again, Denver again. If you want to make it, please RSVP. These classes are selling out. We'd love to get you in there. There is limited availability. Lastly, Boulder's coming up Monday, May 26th, Memorial Day, party at my house. Watch our social media, check out our emails. You'll get an invite. It's kind of an open house kind of thing. You don't need to RSVP. You just show up. It's like a national holiday in Boulder. It's one of the best parties we ever throw. It is so much fun. If you can make it, we'd love to see you there. Happy Friday. Hope you have a great day.